She stood there like she was grabbing lunch with coworkers, not flying off to a beachfront resort with a man who once had his tongue in her mouth and his toothbrush in our bathroom. Saturday morning. Sunshine, birds chirping. My wife in yoga pants and a Patagonia pullover, stuffing bikinis into a sleek black carry-on. Mason got us a suite. It's through his company rewards thing. There's a rooftop bar. But it's not a big deal, she said, as if discussing grocery coupons. We're just friends. I put down my coffee, not slammed, not spilled, just placed. Calmly. I looked up. You're flying out with your ex? She scoffed, rolled her eyes so hard they nearly popped out. You always do this. You always assume the worst. God, if you don't let me travel with Mason, you're being controlling. I'm not asking for permission. Not asking for permission, that's the line that stuck. It wasn't anger in her voice. It wasn't even defiance. It was entitlement. And that's when I knew this wasn't some flirty reunion between high school sweethearts gone platonic. This was a line being drawn, not in sand, in stone. I didn't argue, I didn't raise my voice or ask 1,000 questions like a panicked husband in a Netflix drama. I just smiled faintly and said, got it. She took that as surrender. While she was brushing her hair and blasting Lizzo in the bathroom, I logged into our shared airline rewards account, under my name, of course. She never bothered to change it when she booked her independent getaway. Flight 6731, BOS to Hawaii, check-in confirmed, seat 3A, return Monday morning 10:45, short weekend escape, except guess who's sitting in 3B? I clicked Mason's name, same ticket class, booked under her points, not his, interesting. I cross-checked the reservation ID, clicked over to the airline's mobile app, and there it was, a hotel reservation, linked to the flight, oceanfront, not a conference hotel, not business suite. Just a boutique resort with private beach access and, how poetic, a couple's massage package. Room 411, one king bed. My fingers hovered over the screenshot button for a second, not because I hesitated, because I knew this exact moment was a pivot point. Some guys explode. I've seen it. They shout, accuse, cry, beg, slap plates off tables. That's not strength, that's noise. That's the performance of masculinity. I chose silence. Click. Screenshot of the hotel details. Click. Screenshot of the seat map. Click. A quiet image of the Trip for Two banner on the resort homepage. I emailed them to myself with a subject line I've used once in my life. Truth in progress. Look, if you've made it this far and you're one of the 90% of people just lurking without following, maybe hit the subscribe button. It helps the team behind this bring you more of these stories. And trust me, this one gets dark. Fast. When she came back into the kitchen, makeup done, passport in hand like she was heading to Paris, she smiled like nothing in the world was suspicious. Can you water the Monstera while I'm gone? I think it's getting dry. The Monstera. That stupid plant she bought during lockdown because some Instagram therapist said taking care of living things boosts emotional regulation. Sure, I said. I'll take care of everything. She kissed my cheek, sprayed herself with some overpriced mist that smelled like bergamot and broken vows. Then she left. I watched the car pull away. Mason's Tesla was already parked on the curb when I walked out to grab the trash can. He didn't come to the door. She just hopped in like it was an Uber, like she hadn't just shredded a decade of fidelity with a beach tote and lip gloss. I didn't rage. Instead, I turned on the kettle, made myself a second coffee, and sat down at the kitchen table with the flight app still open. Because while she thought I was defeated, I was busy connecting dots she didn't even know she'd drawn. There's a unique type of quiet that settles in when you stop trying to fix someone's lie and start preparing for their truth to do the work for you. I had 3 days, and the first move was already made. She texted me from the tarmac, boarding now, wish you were coming. The emoji was insulting, like a smiley sticker on a court summons. I didn't reply, just watched the typing dots fade in and out like a heartbeat I didn't care to revive. The flight number matched. She was on schedule. I reopened the airline app, not hers, ours. Years ago, I'd set it up to track our miles. Romantic trips, last-minute getaways, upgrades we'd split. Funny how those digital relics become forensic evidence. Under her name, the trip to Hyannis showed in progress. Checked in. Seat 3A, the companion traveler, Mr. M. Hall, 3B. He hadn't even bothered to book his own ticket separately. Used her points like he used to use our wine glasses when he came over for movie nights and grilled halibut. There was something so familiar in the carelessness. I tapped through the itinerary again, drilling into the add-ons section where perks and hotel stays link in. And there it was, Sea-Watch Bay Resort. Check-in, Saturday. Check-out, Monday. Guest, my wife. Room type, 1 King Deluxe. Ocean view includes champagne service. Champagne service. I closed my eyes for a second just to let the anger pass through like a fever. It didn't stay long. I didn't let it. Anger's only useful if it leads somewhere. Otherwise, it's theater. Back to the screen. I clicked the More Details tab and confirmed what I already suspected. It wasn't a work hotel, no business center, no conference package. It was a couples retreat, the kind with infinity pools and sunset yoga. Screenshot, then another, zoomed in on her name, check-in time, and that king bed detail. I moved fast but methodically, sent the images to my encrypted private email, not our shared Gmail, a different one she didn't know existed. I had set it up years ago during a brief freelance consulting gig, never deleted it. Now it had a new purpose. Archive of Collapse. Just out of curiosity, because at this point, why not? I clicked on Mason's name in the passenger details. Frequent flyer profile. Elite status with her airline thanks to all his company travel. He had 3 flights with her listed in the past 12 months. One of them during the weekend, she said she went to visit her aunt in Providence. Providence doesn't have 5-star beach resorts. Screenshot. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't even detective work. It was bookkeeping. The kind of math that comes with marriage. Subtract the lies, divide the loyalty, carry the betrayal. Next, I downloaded the resort's app. Sea-Watch Bay had a loyalty system. If you link a reservation, you can manage spa appointments, room service, even order food to the poolside cabana. I signed in using her email, our shared one. She hadn't changed the password. Of course she hadn't. That's the thing about people who lie. They always forget about the small doors they leave unlocked. Once in, I could see the room's itinerary. Dinner for 2 at the Cliffside Grill. Massage booked Sunday morning at 10. Champagne on arrival. In the guest preferences section, she'd added, anniversary weekend, please ensure room is romantic and private. Anniversary weekend. Our wedding anniversary was 2 months away. I stared at that phrase for a while. It was oddly polite, like the lie needed to be dressed up before being handed over to hotel staff. I screenshotted every screen. The emotions were no longer swirling, they were organizing themselves. Like soldiers before campaign, not fury, not heartbreak. Focus. She wanted freedom? I'd give her enough rope to bungee jump off her moral high ground. I opened a blank note on my phone, started listing timestamps, screenshots, passenger details, room numbers, then added 2 names at the top. Adrienne Hall, Sea-Watch Bay Hotel Security. She was sipping champagne by the ocean, thinking I was home watering her Monstera. She had no idea that every click I made was tightening the loop around her fabricated Just Friends story. I looked at the final screenshot, the one where she'd marked Do Not Disturb under her stay preferences. I laughed quietly. Don't worry, I muttered. I won't. I didn't need to bust down the door. I didn't need to scream into the abyss. All I needed was what I already had. Proof, a plan, and patience. And she'd packed the matches herself. I was just pointing to the gasoline. The hardest call I've ever made didn't come with heartbreak. It came with strategy. I sat in my car, parked in a quiet lot outside a hardware store, of all places. Just me, a stack of screenshots in my inbox, and a hollow kind of clarity settling in like fog. The kind of clarity that makes you realize you're no longer trying to salvage anything. You're just identifying what to burn and what to walk away from. Mason's wife, Adrienne, was someone I'd spoken to maybe 3 times ever. Once at a company party, once when they came over for dinner, and she brought that overcooked spinach tart, and once in passing at some wine bar gathering that all the spouses had been dragged to. Polite, warmish, but always with this glazed-over sadness behind her eyes. We'd all assumed they split last year. Some vague mention of a trial separation. Mason had said they were working through some things. And my wife, she'd told me Adrienne moved back to her sister's in Connecticut. They're done, she said casually while peeling an orange. I remember that orange. The way she snapped the peel off in a spiral, like it was a game, like none of it mattered. I pulled up Adrian's contact, still listed under Adrian Hall. Still had the same number from that wine bar night when we'd all exchanged info in case the Uber got lost. I hit call, 1 ring. 2, she picked up. Hello? Her voice hadn't changed, still soft, still polite. Hi, Adrian, it's Michael Kessler. A beat of silence. Mason's Michael? A name I hadn't heard in that tone before, like she wasn't sure whether to brace or breathe. I know this is unexpected, I said. I just need to ask one thing. Are you two officially separated? Another pause. This one longer. No, why? I didn't explain. I didn't preamble. I just sent the photo, the hotel itinerary, her name and Mason's. Room 401, 1 king bed. Anniversary weekend. 30 seconds passed. No reply. Then my phone lit up again. Incoming call. Adrian. I picked up. Where's this hotel? Her voice was no longer soft. It was surgical. I gave her the address, the check-in time, the room number, even the name of the resort concierge if she wanted it. She didn't speak again for a few seconds. Then, are you going? I wasn't, but I booked a suite just to observe. I'll meet you there, she said. I have PTO, and I'd like to use it productively. She hung up. I stared at the dashboard for a long while, not with disbelief. That part had passed. It was something colder now, something like relief, because I wasn't alone in this anymore. She hadn't screamed, hadn't sobbed, hadn't tried to spin it into confusion or denial. Just like me, she had moved past the emotional theater, straight to logistics. A two-front response. I drove home slowly, hands steady on the wheel. The sun was setting. People were out walking dogs, jogging, sipping overpriced lattes, living lives that probably didn't involve beachside adultery or surprise alliances with near strangers. Good for them. When I got home, her suitcase was gone. Her perfume lingered faintly in the bedroom, eucalyptus and fraudulence. The Monstera plant drooped a little, probably needed water. Instead, I packed a bag. Not full, just a weekend's worth of neutral-colored clothes, an electric toothbrush, a power bank. Nothing dramatic. As I zipped it shut, I realized how light it felt. How light I felt. I opened the airline app again and checked the reservation. They had just landed, 7:11 p.m. I knew exactly how long it would take them to check in, unpack, order champagne, set the scene. Adrian texted me a single sentence. Do not say anything until I arrive. I replied, you'll be the first to knock. We weren't friends. We weren't even allies, not really. But right now, we were the only two people who knew exactly how far the lies had gone. And that was enough. The call was easy. Too easy, really. Sea-Watch Bay Resort, this is Martin at the front desk. How can I assist you today? I didn't waste time. Hi, Martin. I'm calling on behalf of a guest, my wife. There may be a safety issue I need to flag, and I'd like to do it discreetly. A pause, the kind trained customer service staff take when they're deciding if this is a prank call, a Karen moment, or something serious. I understand, sir. Can I have the guest's name, please? I gave it to him. First and last, spelled it out like I was giving airport security a manifest. He tapped his keyboard. Yes, she checked in earlier today. Good. She's in room 411, yes? Another pause. Softer this time. Confirming what I already knew. Yes, sir. Is there a specific concern we should be aware of? Yes, I said. She's traveling with a man who is not her spouse. His name is Mason Hall. If there's any disturbance or scene, I'd like to request hotel security be aware and ready. This isn't a threat. This is a precaution. Understood? I kept my voice flat, neutral, the tone that makes people listen closer. Martin responded slower this time. Understood, sir. Would you like security to make contact? No, just awareness for now. Quiet awareness. Silence again. Then professionalism kicked back in. We can make a note on the room file for our evening staff. Discreetly, is there anything else I can assist you with? Yes, I'd like to book a suite. Same property, not adjacent, different wing if possible. He didn't ask why. Of course, sir. May I have your name? I gave it, but used a different card. Not the shared account, not our bank. A separate one I used for freelance travel years ago, one she'd forgotten about or never noticed. Just another small oversight that now gave me the upper hand. Mr. Kessler, I placed you in Suite 237, Ocean View, same amenities, opposite side of the property. Perfect. He confirmed the booking. I thanked him, hung up, then sat in the silence for a moment and exhaled. Not a sigh, just a release. The kind you feel when every piece has finally slid into place. No more assumptions, no what ifs, just structure. The architecture of quiet revenge. I packed my laptop, a clean shirt, added a pair of polarized sunglasses to the bag. Not for the sun, but for the kind of anonymity a dark lens provides when you don't want to be seen, even in plain view. Before leaving, I walked through the house slowly, not emotionally, just checking the perimeter like I always did before trips. Front door, backslider, stove off, all lights dimmed, everything settled. In the living room, her favorite throw blanket was still crumpled on the armrest. I picked it up, folded it with mechanical precision, set it on the cushion like I was staging a house for sale. It felt symbolic, not sentimental. The drive to the resort was unremarkable. I played no music, checked no mirrors more than usual. The GPS guided me through winding shoreline roads like I was any other weekend traveler heading to overpriced seafood and white linens. But I wasn't going for dinner, or a swim, or closure. I was going for the truth, and to witness its unraveling. At check-in, the receptionist didn't blink. "Welcome, Mr. Kessler. We have you in Suite 237. Let me have someone assist you with your bags." I declined. I had one. It wasn't heavy. The elevator was quiet. The hallway quieter. My room faced the opposite side of the building. No chance of accidental bump-ins or awkward elevator rides. I wasn't here to interfere. I was here to watch from the shadows, to let events unfold under their own weight. Once inside, I opened the balcony door. The ocean air came in with a chill. Below, people milled about in beachwear and overpriced sunglasses. Somewhere out there, she was laughing, pretending the past didn't exist, pretending Mason was just a name, not a symptom. I turned off the hotel phone, placed my phone on the table, set the screenshots folder to open on swipe. Then I sat, not nervously, not hungrily, just present, a controlled presence, like a stage manager, ready for the lights to dim and the curtain to rise. Adrian texted, "I'm an hour out." I replied, "Suite 237, I'll brief you when you get here." She didn't ask for photos. She didn't ask what I knew. She was past that. She was moving like I was. Clean, calculated, with the slow burn rage of someone who wasn't going to scream in the rain or throw glassware. We were here to watch, let them toast, let them sink into the lie with full bellies and salt-kissed hair, because when you give someone the freedom to destroy their own alibi, all you need to do is show up on time and let gravity do the rest. The bar was cold, despite the warm light and faux rattan furniture trying to sell some sanitized fantasy of island life. I chose the farthest corner, near the emergency exit. Good line of sight, low exposure, back to the wall, habit from years of corporate travel and war stories swapped with ex-military consultants over airport whiskey. I ordered soda water. No ice, no garnish. I wasn't here to blend in. I was here to see. Through the wide glass panels that opened toward the infinity pool, I caught sight of her. She wore the blue dress, the one with the side slit she'd once claimed was too nice for just dinner. Apparently, this counted as an occasion. Her laugh was visible before it was audible. Head tilted back, mouth open, hand on Mason's forearm like it belonged there. They were poolside, low cabana chairs, wine glasses already half empty. He wore no wedding ring. Neither did she. Her feet were tucked under her, body angled toward him, not parallel, not platonic. She leaned in when he whispered something. He grinned. She touched her own shoulder as she laughed. Small things, but old habits don't lie. I raised my phone casually like I was checking messages. Snap. The first shot. Both of them mid-laugh, her hand on his thigh, not even subtle. Second shot. She pulls her hair back with one hand, looks at him the way she used to look at me in the early years, like he was the cleverest man in the room. Third photo, she leans her head against his shoulder, not a second, not fleeting, she stays there. Click, not for court, not for leverage, not to ruin her or turn this into some movie-style expose, just for when she says, inevitably, "You're blowing it out of proportion." It wasn't like that. Yes, it was exactly like that. She wasn't kissing him. Not yet. But the kiss was implied in every gesture, every glance, every unguarded lean. It was only a matter of timing, not intent. I stayed long enough to observe the rhythm, how she laughed louder with wine, how she touched him more after every refill, how he began to mirror her posture, slouching deeper into comfort, like they were playing out some delayed honeymoon script. At one point, she stood to stretch, her dress clinging to the wet imprint of the chair. He slapped her backside. She laughed. I blinked, not because it shocked me, but because something in me, some small hope that maybe I was wrong, that maybe I'd misunderstood, finally expired. Quietly. No drama. A man 2 tables away looked over and gave me that subtle nod guys do when they assume you're a fellow traveler, killing time at the bar while your wife shops or gets a massage. I nodded back, then checked my phone. Adrian. Just pulled into the lot. Give me 10. Perfect. I stood, dropped a tip on the bar, even though I didn't drink, and left through the side door, looping around the pool deck. From the hallway, I could hear them laugh again. Her laugh, which I used to think was the best sound in the world, now echoed like a fire alarm, shrill and detached from anything good. I reached my room, closed the door, pulled the blinds, opened the photos, reviewed them once, twice. I didn't zoom in. I didn't need to. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't a man losing his grip. This was clarity. She chose this. Not once, not by accident, but over and over, in glances, touches, laughter, lies. And soon someone else would see it too, because Adrian wasn't coming here for closure. She was coming for confirmation. And I had it. Framed in 12 megapixels. Time-stamped. Geotagged. Undeniable. Adrian arrived like a woman who wasn't there to ask questions. There was no hesitation in her step, no fidgeting with her coat, no second glance at the valet. She walked into the Sea-Watch Bay lobby like she owned it, like the floor was lucky to support her heels. I watched from the lounge mezzanine above, just behind a decorative pillar lined with fake seagrass and framed driftwood quotes like sandy toes, sun-kissed nose. Below, she approached the front desk, gave her name, then calmly handed over a phone with one of the photos I'd sent her earlier. Room number included. I saw the shift in the concierge's posture, the immediate flicker of uh-oh, the subtle nod, then the side glance toward security tucked near the luggage cubbies. A quiet word was exchanged. One of the suited staff peeled off like a shark in calm waters. This wasn't the first time a hotel dealt with a situation like this, but something about the silence, the precision, seemed to unnerve them more than a screaming spouse ever could. Adrian followed security down the hall without a sound. No stomping, no crying, just that grim, upright posture of a woman walking toward the scene of her own erasure. I stayed behind. This wasn't my confrontation. Not yet. A few minutes passed. Then came the scream. It tore down the hallway like a jagged knife. Not shrill, not dramatic, just final. The sound of someone watching their last excuse die in real time. I stepped into the hallway from the side door. Slowly, quietly. Adrian was already there, standing outside room 411, back stiff, arms folded like she was holding her own ribs in place. The door was wide open. Mason stumbled into view, dripping, half wrapped in a hotel towel, hair soaked like he'd just crawled out of some guilty baptism. His mouth opened to say something, probably the worst version of "this isn't what it looks like." But security placed a firm hand on his chest before he got a full breath. Then my wife appeared. She was wearing the hotel's robe now, loosely tied, damp hair curling around her shoulders, neck flushed. Her face froze when she saw Adrian. All the blood left her skin like someone had pulled a drain plug. She opened her mouth but didn't speak, because what was there to say? No one yelled, not anymore. The noise had already happened. Now it was Silence's turn to do the work. Mason tried to step forward. Adrian didn't move. "You're not even divorced," she said, voice low and razor clean. My wife blinked, swallowed. Adrian continued. You called it freedom. I call it theft. Of time. Of trust. Of decency. Security shifted, unsure who needed intervention. Mason kept his hand on the towel. Cowardice always needs a shield, even a thin one. My wife finally spoke. It wasn't planned. Adrian cut her off with a look. Just a look. The kind you earn by surviving too many lies. I stepped forward then. Into the light. Into view. My wife turned. Locked eyes with me. Her face didn't collapse. Not yet. She'd always been good at pretending composure, but something flickered behind her expression. Not guilt, not panic, recognition, not just of what she'd done, but who she had done it in front of. Mason, dripping in betrayal and skin, mumbled, Man, what is this? I didn't answer. I just looked at my wife. She took a slow breath. You followed me. I tilted my head. You told me not to be controlling. And in that moment, all her justifications, every carefully crafted, it's not what you think, and you're being paranoid, and you need to trust me, disintegrated under the weight of visible reality. No theory, no speculation, just her, in a robe, in a room, with a man who was not me, with a woman who still signed his tax forms. Adrian turned to security. I'd like them removed from the room. I'll be staying here now. The guard nodded. Understood, ma'am. My wife looked at me again, eyes pleading now. Can we just talk? I shook my head, slow and calm. You did all your talking. This is just the reply. Then I walked away. I didn't run. I didn't look back. I didn't have to. The sound behind me wasn't footsteps. It was collapse. A quiet, complete implosion. And I hadn't raised my voice once. I didn't sleep that night. But not because I was restless. Because I didn't need to. The bed in Suite 237 stayed untouched. The luggage I'd packed, precisely, methodically, sat exactly where I'd left it on the credenza. Still zipped, still folded, still clean. I didn't pour a drink, didn't scroll, didn't write some long poetic monologue in a leather journal like some cinematic cuckold with feelings to process. I just sat on the balcony, watching the black ocean break against the shoreline in slow, steady gasps. And I listened to the silence inside me, a silence I hadn't felt in years. No anger, no pain, no guilt, not even triumph, just stillness. By 6:12 a.m., I was showered, dressed, packed, a ghost moving through a scene that no longer needed him. I didn't bother with breakfast. I didn't glance at room service. I pulled the door shut behind me with the same care you use when closing a chapter in a book you're never rereading. Downstairs, the lobby was half awake. Early staff yawning behind reception, lounge music on low. A family with toddlers in pajamas wrestled with beach toys near the elevator. Real life had already resumed. I approached the front desk, same concierge, Martin, same polite mask, though now with a flicker of recognition, like I wasn't just another guest anymore. I was something else, the variable no one accounted for. I slid a small envelope across the counter. No return address, no name, just a note typed and printed on the back of a coffee receipt I picked up on the drive-in. Your husband has the photos, so does hotel security. I won't be answering any more questions. Room 412 was scribbled in the corner. Martin glanced at it. Didn't ask. Smart man. I'm not checking out, I said. There's nothing to check out of. He nodded once. I walked away. My car, still clean, still gassed up, waited like a loyal accomplice. The GPS still had home programmed in from the night before. But home didn't feel like the right word anymore. I started the engine, pulled out slowly, and that's when the phone buzzed. First her. Wife, 6:48 a.m. Where are you? Can we talk, please? 6:49 a.m. Michael, I'm serious. This is crazy. We need to talk face to face. 6:52 a.m. I made a mistake. Please, just answer, please. Then Mason. 6:55 a.m. What the hell is your problem, man? 6:56 a.m. You didn't have to do this. This is personal. You're ruining lives. 6:57 a.m. You're not the victim here. And then, Adrian. 6:59 a.m. Thank you. Just 2 words, but somehow the most honest message of them all. I didn't respond to any of them, not out of spite, not out of righteousness, just because I wasn't required to. They could scream into the void, craft their defenses, stitch together their rewrites of what really happened. But I'd already left the room, the scene, the role. I was no longer cast in their drama. I turned on the radio. Jazz, static for a second, then a soft saxophone sliding into a quiet morning. The road stretched open in front of me like it always had. I just hadn't noticed it until now. And behind me? A suite with rumpled sheets, a robe on the floor, a man with a towel and a problem, a woman with no more lies left to tell. Let them sort it out. I was already gone. She came back 3 days later, dragging a carry-on full of denial like it was her moral luggage. I was in the kitchen, lights off, just the dim glow from the range hood and the low hum of the refrigerator filling the silence she used to dominate with, "Babe, guess what happened at work?" Stories that now sounded like stand-up comedy in reverse. The key turned in the lock. She stepped in, not sheepish, not devastated, defensive, like she had been wronged. I didn't move. She spotted me instantly, did that tight exhale you only do when you realize you've walked into something you can't control. "Okay, we need to talk," she said. "Sure," I replied, still seated, still calm. "Let's." She threw her bag down, not dramatically, but just enough to show she was winding herself up. "What you did," she started, voice tight, "was absolutely out of line." I raised an eyebrow, said nothing. "You violated my privacy," she continued, stepping closer. "You stalked me." There it was, the word she was saving for the kill shot. I sipped my tea, still warm. "You called me controlling," I said. "So I gave you space." Her face twitched. The argument hit a speed bump, but she kept pushing. "Space doesn't mean surveillance. You tracked my hotel, sent things to Adrian. Do you know what you've done?" I leaned back. "Yes, I gave someone honesty, something you never managed to do." She flinched like I'd slapped her, but there was no yelling, no swearing, just silence layered with implication. "Michael," her voice softened. "Look, it was a mistake. It got complicated. We drank, look, it didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything," I repeated. She stepped around the island counter now, trying to shorten the distance, like proximity could dilute the reality she'd created. "We can fix this," she said quietly now. "Please, let's just reset, start over. We've been through so much." I watched her. The robe she wore was one I bought her last Christmas. She clutched it like it was a lifeline, not a costume. I opened the drawer next to me, calmly, without flinching, pulled out a single sheet of paper, laid it on the counter between us. She looked down. The hotel receipt. Room 411, 2 nights. Champagne welcome, couples massage, anniversary weekend. The color drained from her cheeks like water from a cracked vase. "I knew," I said, "before you even landed." She didn't speak, so I continued, voice even. "I watched you laugh at dinner. I watched him touch your leg. I watched you rest your head on his shoulder like that wasn't once our thing. I watched you order wine with his last name and charge it to a room reserved with mine. Michael," her voice cracked. Look, I didn't plan for it to go that far. It just happened." "No," I said coldly. "What happened was a choice. What followed was a pattern. What you told yourself to sleep at night. That's your fiction. I deal in facts." She reached out across the island, fingers trembling. "Can we try? Can we please just talk without all the detective stuff?" I looked at her hand. Didn't take it. "I don't need you to talk," I said. "I just need you to listen." She pulled back like my words were acid. "You were never just visiting a friend," I continued. "You packed silk lingerie. You booked a couple's dinner. You told the hotel it was your anniversary, ours, while I was at home watering your plant." She couldn't hide the shame anymore. It crept up her neck like ink and water. "I panicked," she whispered. I thought you wouldn't find out." "You hoped I wouldn't." She nodded slowly. "A guilty child, not a woman anymore. But the thing about betrayal is, it doesn't care why. It only cares that." And she knew now that I'd known all along. Before the plane, before the champagne, before the robe hit the floor. I stood, finally, walked past her. She didn't follow, because suddenly she understood. This wasn't the start of a fight. It was the end of her performance, and the beginning of the consequences. I filed on a Wednesday. No ceremony, no outburst, just a signature. A quiet walk into my attorney's office where everything smelled like toner and old law books and a folder labeled Kessler Uncontested Filing. The lawyer didn't ask for a story. That's why I hired him. He didn't need drama, he needed data. And I had it. Surveillance timestamps, receipts, photos, all documented, not dramatized. He flipped through them like a banker counting cash. She going to contest? She can try, I said, but there's nothing left to argue over. Everything she wanted is already in Mason's hotel room. He nodded, tapped the stapler. Clean, this'll move quick. Good. I changed my mailing address that same day, forwarded to a P.O. box 2 towns over, not because I was hiding, but because I didn't want apology letters, or guilt cookies, or tear-stained envelopes with perfume and rewritten timelines. Back at the house, she noticed first. I came home that night. No argument, no scene, just placed the divorce papers on the kitchen counter like a takeout menu. She didn't pick them up. "You're really doing this?" she asked, arms folded, mascara already starting to smear like she wanted to play the role of regretful wife in whatever movie she was now scripting. "I already did." Her chin trembled. "It used to work. I used to fold at that. Now it looked like a poorly rehearsed monologue. But you didn't even talk to me. You didn't even try. I was confused. I didn't know how far things would go." I cut her off, calm as steel. "You were clear. So now I am too." She blinked, the same way you do when headlights appear too fast around a bend. The papers sat untouched, but the silence started to multiply. 2 days later, I heard from a mutual friend, one of those over-friendly guys who thrives on passive gossip dressed up as concern. "Hey man, just heard about Mason. Crazy, right?" I played dumb. "What about him?" "Got fired. Something about an HR violation. They said it was hotel security footage or something." "Wild," I said. "Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy." Turns out Mason's employer didn't appreciate their director of regional partnerships spending corporate reward points on anniversary weekends with still married coworkers. Hotel security had flagged the incident. A routine review of noise complaints involving a screaming spouse, Adrian, and a very memorable scene involving a towel and a broken wine glass. Funny how quiet revenge creates the loudest echoes. Mason tried to call me. Once. Didn't even finish the voicemail. Just the sound of his breath, a frustrated grunt, and then the click of a man watching his own life deflate. Adrian filed the next morning. Legal separation with citations of infidelity and reputational damage. I knew because her attorney's assistant emailed me CCing my lawyer, asking for permission to reference the evidence packet I'd quietly provided. I didn't respond. My attorney did. "Mr. Kessler consents to use of non-redacted documents in reference to events of March 8-10, Sea-Watch Bay Resort." Formal, boring, devastating. At home, my wife, ex-wife technically, started to disintegrate in phases. First, she tried to delay, said we needed counseling, said I was overreacting. Then came the tears, the guilt, the strategically timed hugs in the hallway, the "what about everything we built" the moment said, with just enough vulnerability to sound real. But I'd already moved my documents, my clothes, my name off the lease. She couldn't hold on to me, because I was never trying to escape her. I just let her leave herself. And once you're gone, there's nothing left to argue with. No shouting match, no online post about betrayal, no cinematic public humiliation, just facts, delivered cold, no explanation required. She called it controlling. I called it clarity. And it was moving faster than anything she could stop. 6 months is long enough for silence to become a habit, long enough for her name to stop triggering anything but administrative indifference, long enough for the house to become just walls and furniture again. No perfume in the air, no makeup smears on bathroom towels, no lies fermenting in the space between sentences. It was a Thursday. I was in Chicago, the kind of corporate hotel where every hallway smells faintly like bleach and business class loneliness. I just checked in, no fanfare, no champagne on arrival. Just a room key and a skyline view muted by fog. I put my bag down, took off my watch, slid open the balcony door, and then my phone buzzed. Email received. No subject. From her name. I stared at the notification. It hung there on the lock screen like a trap that already knew I wouldn't take the bait. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The preview line was enough. "I miss us," that phrase, so simple, so weaponized. as if us was some still living thing, not a corpse she buried beneath a five-star duvet and a bottle of hotel wine. I tapped and held the screen. Deleted, no reply, no internal debate, no emotional autopsy. Just gone. Then I opened the airline app, still installed, still logged in. I checked my itinerary, not hers, mine. One traveler, one room, one reservation. Room 1202. King bed. No champagne, no lies, no pretend anniversaries. The difference was staggering. This time I wasn't watching anyone from the shadows. I wasn't preparing screenshots or laying traps. I wasn't documenting proof for future battles that never came. I was just here. I stepped onto the balcony, the city humming below in that anonymous, indifferent way I'd come to appreciate. No one knew me here. No one expected anything from me here. It was freedom, not the kind she once demanded while packing for a just friends trip with her ex, but the real kind, the earned kind, the kind that doesn't need to explain itself. I watched the lights shift in the fog. A car alarm echoed in the distance. Someone laughed 4 floors down, and I felt nothing but stillness. Not emptiness, stillness. There's a difference. Inside, my phone stayed quiet. No follow-ups, no apologies, no attachments marked. Just read this, please. She had used her final message on nostalgia, and I had used my final energy deleting it. No revenge, no victory lap, just a man alone on a balcony, no longer documenting a lie, just living in the truth. Quiet, simple, uncomplicated, and finally, free.